In today's video, we will be discussing how you can use unconscious people as a tool to awaken. And by the end of this video, you will know how to deal with unconscious people so that you can transform your state of being and awaken to the truth of who you really are. What's up, everyone? My name is Morsi, and if you are new to this channel is all about creating your own reality through your spiritual awakening process. And if you find that the words in this video resonate with you, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Now, this video is meant for those who are ready to look within. And when I say ready to look within, I mean ready to recognize your ego. Now, we all have an ego. It's a part of the human experience. The ego isn't necessarily wrong. The ego is just unconscious. The ego interferes with our awakening. It interferes with us seeing the world and our reality in a way that serves us best. It interferes with us trying to remember who we are. Now, when you understand and know your own ego, then it's much easier to empathize and understand the egos of unconscious people. Because you will understand that the ego is something that has, in a way, taken over your mind. It's not who you really are. It's a false identification of who you think you are. The ego works through survival and competition. So that means that the ego will do anything to protect and strengthen and enlarge its identity so it can protect itself. And so that means doing a lot of things that aren't true to who you are. And it's not who you are. And so when you recognize that in other people, then you can sit back and be the observer and understand that what they're doing is not personal to you. It is the way that they are thinking. They are in the way that they see the world. Because we perceive our reality through the screen of our own thinking. And that comes based on our past experiences and many things that we have experienced that really affects the way we think. So, number one, when you find yourself in a situation with someone who you feel is unconscious, that means to take a moment and to be present. Because the moment you choose to be present is the moment your ego begins to dissolve. Because the ego, it doesn't like the present moment. The ego likes to live in the future and in the past. But when you bring yourself to this present moment, you allow that ego to dissolve and you have the ability to transcend it. And when you do that, you are able to observe and recognize the unconsciousness within the other person. And therefore, you won't be there to absorb their energy because you're conscious. You have expanded your awareness. Now, I made a video about not absorbing the energy of others, and I'll put that right here in this corner because that will help you out as well in understanding how to deal with negative energy. But when you remain present and you choose to remain present in a situation, you allow yourself to look within and feel for the energy within your body. And when you feel for the energy within your body, you may feel this need to be right? This need to be right, this need to react to the other and make sure that they know that you are right and they are wrong. And that's important to recognize that the ego always wants to be right. It doesn't want to necessarily cooperate, but it wants to compete. It wants to be superior. So when you find yourself feeling as though you need to be superior in this interaction, then that means you are working through your ego. So take this time to feel the energy throughout your body. But don't give it a story. Just feel it, be present in it, and observe and recognize the ego in the other. Many times too, when we are in this interaction with someone who is unconscious, we may begin to make up this story of who they are based on their interaction. We've all been somewhere where, let's say we were in line somewhere and someone was really rowdy, and you may have gotten in some sort of confrontation, or wherever it might be, where you got in a confrontation at work, at school, wherever it may be. What happens is, after that confrontation, you develop the story about that person and attach it to their identity. And then right then and there, you feel like that you are right and they are wrong, because in that moment of your interaction, you created their entire identity out of this moment. And that right there is looking through the lens of the ego. The ego, once again, it's trying to find a way to be superior. It's trying to find a way to protect. And what it does in trying to protect you is create stories. But what it's actually doing is building separation and boundaries. And it ends up putting you in this prison. So when you put yourself in that present moment, and when you understand that consciousness is your greatest protection, not trying to be right, not trying to be superior, not trying to create a story so that you can make them wrong, but consciousness, awareness, and deciding whether or not you're going to allow this person to absorb your energy. Because what happens is, when two people are going at it in one another, it's just two egos going at it in one another. And when you are going at it with someone else, you're not able to be conscious to their actions or be conscious to your own actions, because you're more concerned with trying to come out on top. And that, my friend, is not how you deal with unconscious people. That is how you compete with unconscious people. That's how you go head to head with unconscious people. And to be honest, it has to be fair to say that you too, in that moment, are unconscious. And these are the things that I remind myself of each time and every day. I remember the first time I understood this, and much of this information, if you recognize it, is inspired and influenced by Eckhart Tolle. Because I remember the first time when I was beginning to learn this, and it made so much sense. And not only did I feel more in control of myself when I began to understand that consciousness and expanding my awareness is my greatest protection, but I also began to feel who I truly was. I began to feel that beingness within me. I transcended and went past ego. And I said, wow, this is crazy. It's crazy what the ego will do in order to protect itself, because it truly isn't you. And when you see that other person, and when you are in contact with that other person, you recognize that that's not them either. That's not truly them. That's their ego. It's possessing and taking over their mind so that it could protect them. And it'll go through any means, whether it starts with name calling, whether it starts with, and then begins with yelling. And then unfortunately, it could be physical violence. It's important to stop it right then and there. The goal here is non-reaction. So when you don't react, but respond, right there, that's a strength. Non-reaction, it allows you to look within and observe the ego within the other, observe the unconsciousness within the other. And it helps to forgive. And forgive, it means that you are looking past what they're doing. You're looking past their ego, you're going past it, and you're recognizing that, oh my gosh, you are trying to transcend the same thing that I try to transcend every day. And that right there is empathy. That right there is compassion, because we are all dealing with unconsciousness. We are all dealing with the ego. And it's not to say that we are going head to head. It's us versus our ego, because right there you're making the ego an enemy. The ego is not your enemy, but it is something that you must bring your conscious attention to so that you give yourself the opportunity to awaken. And the thing about creating a habit, and the thing about making this a part of your state of being, the way you think and the way you act, is that the more you do it, and the more you see that your interaction with unconscious people is a gift and using it as a tool to awaken, the more you do it, the more it becomes a part of your state of being. The more compassionate you are, the more empathetic you are, the more understanding you are. Now, of course, There's always times to speak up. This doesn't mean you're gonna let the unconscious person walk all over you and treat you like you shouldn't be treated, but there's a way to speak up for yourself. And speaking up for yourself, it means that you are stating the facts only. You're not letting them know that how you are taking this personally, how you offended me, and how you did this wrong and this, but it's saying, hey, this is how this made me feel, and it doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't resonate well with me, and I don't like the way that makes me feel. That's just an example of how I have used my discomfort in a situation with those who are unconscious in order to talk things out, in order to see what I can do in order to get past this issue. And you'll find that in interactions where you are non-reactive, you bring out this sort of sanity within the other. You begin to see that they are no longer in that ego state in that ego. So it's important to understand that as long as you're non-reactive, as long as you're aware and you're conscious to your own ego, conscious to any sort of complaining means that you're trying to feel right so they can feel wrong. Because anytime you complain, it's saying, I am right and this needs to change. And that's not accepting the present moment. So recognize complaining, recognize resentment when you're feeling offended. And you're creating a story. Recognize those feelings within yourself and recognize how when you attach your identity to those thoughts and to those beliefs, recognize how it takes control and power over you. Recognize what it does to you. And then think about how that happens to that in the other person and the person who is trying to have their superiority over you. And so when it comes to using it as a tool to awaken and transformation, this is your opportunity to feel that beingness within you, the inner essence, the truth of who you are. You're there to cooperate. You're there to see it as a we and not a you versus me, but a we. And say, hey, we're trying to transcend the same thing. I'm not going to spend my energy trying to make myself be right. It's not even worth it. At the end of the day, what is it that you get? Being right? It's not anything. What you really get, the fulfillment comes in your strength and your awakening and your awareness and saying, wow, this is not who I am. This is not who they are. And that is where the fulfillment comes from. The reward is in the awakening. And I say that all the time. So I hope this video resonates with you, and if you enjoyed it, go ahead and give me a comment down below. Let me know if you would like to hear some more videos about dealing with unconscious people and how it is that this video has probably helped you in understanding how to awaken to the truth of who you are and interact with those who are unconscious. Because let's face it, if you're subscribed to this channel and if you're watching this video, then you're already awakening to the matrix of this world, and you're awakening to the fact that some people are still asleep. And that it's up to you to strengthen your own awareness, expand your own awareness so that you can continue to transcend, so that you can continue to evolve. So my name is Morsi, and if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out these 2 videos right here, because they will help you in understanding how to create your own reality. Until next time, peace.